Hey, hi everybody, I'm Nettie Kay. Hey, welcome back to my studio. Thank you all for your wonderful comments regarding my valiant battle with the onset of MS. I'm feeling really good today, and so I thought it would be a good day to just do some more art. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. I started this abstract painting probably a year ago, so it's nice and dry underneath. And then I just faced it to the wall and went, I don't know how to finish it. You know, sometimes you get stuck. Well, just face your paintings to the wall for a little while and then you'll get inspired later, hopefully, and you can finish them. So today we're going to actually add an element that I think is going to bring this one out of the frying pan. And I'm going to put the illusion of a glass ball that's reflecting into some water. I think this is going to make a wonderful point of focus, which is really important in both your realism and your abstract. In this case, I'm going to call this an abstract realism painting because the glass ball looks so real in the end. It's going to feel as though it's an actual thing. So let's get started. So let's start by creating a circle about the size of what we want the glass ball. And I'm going to just swing my arm mostly from my shoulder and see how far out. I got to just decide how big I want this thing. I don't want it too big and I don't want it too close to the top, otherwise it'll feel like it's squished. And so we'll put it right about in here. I think that's about the right size. Could be a little bit bigger, but that's not bad. That's not bad. And I'm using my medium, which is half stand oil and half thinner, or odorless thinner, so that my brush strokes will be a little bit more smooth. And I've also put a coating of this medium onto the canvas ahead of time so that my brush strokes will move a little bit. Now, when remembering from last lesson, when your reflections are, you're putting your reflections in, you want to make sure that you do them in a vertical manner. So I'm not going to put the reflection of this over here. I'm going to put it directly underneath. And I hope I get this right since I'm sitting off to the side a little bit. And we're going to put that right here. And I'm going to make sure that it's the same width. So I'm going to come down and make sure it's the same width directly below. I can put this on and erase that because the painting is dry underneath. And so I'm going to try really hard to get this the same size. I could get my ruler out or measure it with my paintbrush and go, all right, the top of that to the bottom of the ball is right to there. Top of that to the bottom ball. Oh my gosh, I've got to get it a little bit lower. So let's try that. A little lower down here. And I find doing these circles, not tracing them around an old, pot lid or something. I mean, you could do that if you wanted to make sure they're perfect. But doing it this way it just works fine for me. So whatever works for you is okay. All right. So now I have two circles. I'm going to double check with my head in the way just so that I can make sure that I've got it pretty close. I'm going to come down like this, make sure I've got it pretty close. I'm going to work this out a little bit so from the center out, so it probably won't be too critical if I'm slightly off. I'll correct it. I can correct it with a rag at any time. I just take a rag with a little bit of thinner on it and wipe it off and fix anything that I want. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 1-inch brush, and you could use a round, you could use whatever works for you. And I'm going to fill in with, oops, I just grabbed the wrong color, with some phthalo blue. This is a beautiful blue. We'll make this a blue one. I've done these in a couple of different colors. I'm going to fill this up with some phthalo blue with my medium. Don't forget the medium. Medium is really, really important. So I'm putting the medium on, and I'm doing it on the top, the actual ball. This is the actual ball. This is the reflection. Very important to remember that later on. And we're going to fill that ball up with the phthalo blue. It looks like I've got a little bit of cerulean or something on there. Let's see, cobalt. It's really fun to kind of play around with your blues too to figure out what different blues do. And this one looks a little bit like an egg, so we'll figure that out. We'll fix it. Okay, so here we go. Now, the outside of the ball, both the reflection and the ball up above, is going to be darker. And so I might actually grab a little bit of dark purple to make it dark around the outside edge. So this is kind of a violet This is a dark dioxazine purple that I'm putting around the outside of the ball right here. And I'll put another bit of dioxazine purple right here, like that. This is so weird, isn't it? But I think you'll like it in the end. Some of you won't. Some of you cranky guys won't like this. I sure do. It's a lot of fun. Okay, now I've got these two balls that are relatively together. Now I'm going to also grab a paper towel. Hang on. Before this gets too out of control, and I'm going to just take out these weird lines that I put just as a measuring. Now see, I can just wipe that right off because this is wet underneath, or actually dry underneath with a layer of the medium. I can just shape that out with a paper towel and make it as perfect as I want. I don't want the edge too sharp because it's a round object and it's going to go back into space. The only way that it goes back into space is if the edges around a round ball are soft. Okay, you got that? If it's too sharp, then it looks like a paper cutout or a hole in your canvas. So you want to make sure that this is kind of soft as it goes back into space. A lot of information, but you can do this. Now I'm just going to grab some white. Let's see what happens. If the light's coming from my right, I'm going to assume that it's going to hit, not on the edge of the ball because the ball is back into space, but it's going to hit right here on the top of the ball, right in line with the light. And so as well, on the reflection below, it's going to hit in the same spot, only backwards. So I hope I've got this framed up right. Yes, I do. Okay, and I'm going to now flip it back this way. And so now I have a highlight here and a highlight there. Now, if it was not a transparent ball, I would only put a highlight on and I would have no more reflective light in the inside of the ball. But I'm going to go ahead and put some reflective light on the inside of the ball, and I'm going to do that with white along with a little bit of Viridian green. Now this is just it's not Viridian green, it's Viridian. Viridian is a green-blue color, and it just is kind of a fun thing because you've got all sorts of other things going on. Okay, behind it that are kind of greenish, I'm going to add that, and so I'll put it, I don't know if it'll even register, but we'll see. Okay, so the light's going to hit here, and it's going to come out right about here inside the ball. That's already really, really pretty. Got to get me another swipe of that because it's got to reflect down here. Okay, so the light is hitting here and coming out on the inside of the ball right here. And so reflecting wise, it's hitting here and coming out upside down on the ball. Very, very cool. Now, in order for this to look a little more transparent, I'm going to take a little more of that with my white. And I'm going to begin to start with a little bit of a light spot directly in the middle of the ball. Now this is where the fun comes in, where you just put your paintbrush down and you don't lift it up. You're not going but you're lifting it up. You don't lift it up. You leave your paintbrush down and you just do small little circles as you work your way out towards the edge of the ball. And so you can do this in several applications. I just reversed level, so I'm kind of doing small circles. It doesn't mean you have to keep going in a clockwise fashion. You can go back and forth a little bit, and you work that lovely glow out to, let's see, if I worked it out, I would want to work it out to what I think the thickness of the glass might be. These things are pretty thick, so probably maybe even up to a ½ an inch thick in glass. And so I'm going to do it again. First off, I'm going to pick up that same color and do it down here in the reflection. This is really beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And so I use the same concepts for the glass ball as I do for many other things, including glass jars and grapes. If I did a grape, I think about the translucency or transparency of grapes and different types of things. And so I'm going to use that same idea of the fact that we have highlights and the light goes through the objects and comes out onto the inside of the opposite side of the object. Okay, so it hits the object and then it reflects back down over here into the other part. And then the center of the glass is lighter because it's transparent, and it's going to pick up the light as it bounces around, especially in a round object. It bounces around quite a bit. So when I'm doing something transparent as well, it's not just about light, but if I really got carried away, I would also put in some of the stuff that's behind into the ball. I don't know if I'll get around to that today, but maybe I will a little bit later on this piece. But I'm going to think about what's behind, how the light hits it, how it reflects through it, what's behind it as it is transparent, and well, that's about it. Okay, so I'm going to work that out to the edge again. This is really starting to come together, and you know, you could use this with, it looks kind of like moonlight in a way. I'm going to ignore this highlight and put it back in later, so I'm going to go ahead and just work that out a little bit, and then I'll restate it when I finish my little glowing thing here. And I'll pull that like this. I'm going to pull it like a smile, jump rope smile, whatever you want to say. And we'll get it going this direction again. And then I'm going to take a little more of that highlight color and restate it down here like this. Okay. And so let's see, I'm going to do it one more time on here, work it out, get this nice and glowy. And then at this stage, I'm going to smooth out this highlight a little bit and incorporate it in very, very fast strokes and work it around in its little circular pattern. And then again, I'll restate that sharper highlight once I get the glow kind of working. You could do this in any color, really, as long as the paint is transparent, okay? You can't, it's really hard to do it in like a brown. It would be really hard. But you could do it in any transparent color. Transparent colors are those that don't have a lot of white in the mix. So something like raw sienna would not work, or yellow ochre would not work. But cadmium yellow would work, transparent orange would work, alizarin crimson would work, sap green would work. A lot of the blue colors are going to work, the phthalo blues, the turquoise, the teals, all these different colors that are transparent. You could do this in almost any color. So, all right, we'll get this all smoothed out again. I'm just going to work it out, and then I'm pushing, maybe I'll push a little bit of the light towards the center a little bit. I want to make sure that this is not too thick on the side as it comes down, and make sure my ball is not flat on the bottom. I'm going to really round it out a little bit. Now I'm going to go back over here with this green. This really stands out. I'm going to work that in just a little bit, and down here again. And then I'll restate it again. I'll restate the highlight. It's a lot of make it, break it, and make it again kind of thing. Okay, I've double checked the size of these orbs, and I've made sure that they're the same size, and kind of finished up a few of the highlights and that sort of thing. And so now I'm going to come in with a flat edge brush, and I'm going to put in the illusion of water. I better turn this back so you can actually see it. You want to look at it straight ahead when you're checking the size of things. You don't want to have it off to the side. So that's what I just did. And now I'm going to come underneath here right where the actual ball hits the reflection, and I'm going to part it with a little bit of a white water line and begin to create kind of this sense of water, just like we did in the last painting by making these little kind of cells of white or lighter paint. And we don't want to make it look like it is a big straight line across there. You want to give it a little sense of some little shapes here and there that kind of come back and come back together a little bit. And here's the fun part. On the ball, then, I don't just come up and stop at the edge of the ball. because that will make it look like it's an actual second ball. I don't want to do that. So what do? Well, I'm going to take this white line and I'm going to go right over the top of it, right over the top of the edge. And don't get too carried away with this because it'll get so busy that it'll just, ruin your painting. But I'll do a few of these and then I'll come down here, especially where this white looks like it's just bumping right up against here. And I'm going to come across the ball a little bit there in some little wiggly lines, and then come back on itself a little bit and create a nice, interesting little odd shape here and there. And just again, take a look at some photos of water and see what kind of shapes the water makes. And we're going to just do this sort of thing. Now, don't put your water lines up in the top part here, because that's not underwater, okay? It's sitting above the water. So you want to make sure you don't, mess that up. Now, I can come right up to the ball right here and make the water line even a little deeper, or whatever I decide to do. I can do this over here on this side and pull it out a little bit. But I think it just looks so neat. I really like it a lot. Well, I'm going to actually finish this painting. Isn't that going to be great? I'm so inspired. I love the fact that this kind of glass orb effect has created a point of focus, as I said before. And of course, I didn't put it right dead center. I put it off to the side like I'm supposed to. Yay. And then when it's done, probably in 1 or 2 lessons from now, I'll bring it back out. We're going to do a lesson on how to glaze and change the color of a flower that I painted. I'm going to change the color from a cream-colored flower to maybe a blue flower or a different color. We'll see what happens. And then after that, I'll bring this painting back and show it to you in its finished form. And I'll put it on my gallery wall because I'm just absolutely convinced it's going to be that good. And I'm going to go ahead and put it on my Etsy site at nettykstudio.etsy.com. Well, now what's that? Well, that's where people can go online and you can put that word in and you can find a lot of my other paintings that are available, and you can actually purchase them through that site. Whoa, what a concept. And help me with a couple of medical bills. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. So if you're interested in ordering a painting, or if you have an idea you'd like me to paint, you can kind of go through that format and contact me there. Okay? So I hope you learned something, and I know this was a really fun one, and we'll see you again next time. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. All right. See you guys. Bye-bye.